Hello, you just caught me having a cup of tea. Thank goodness I've got a coaster to put it on. Let's learn how to make one. I'll put my cup of tea over there and we're going to make this lovely coaster. It's a weaving, simple weaving, and all we need to make our lovely coaster is we need some cardboard, we need some scissors, we need a ruler, we need a pencil, and we need some sort of wool, string, anything like that, and a needle. This is a weaving needle with the little hook on the end, but if you don't have one of those, a needle that's big enough, got the eye is big enough to get your chosen thread through. If you don't have a wool needle like this, I would totally recommend getting one because they're endlessly useful. But as long as you can get your wool through, that's all that matters. So they're quite simple things for us to get, not too much. So you need to get yourself a square of cardboard. Now you want some quite thick cardboard, you know, something from packaging. This one is not a square because I want it to be ever so slightly rectangular. So it's 10 centimetres by 13 centimetres. But it's up to you what size you want. You can actually buy these ones already cut like this. And that's a larger one for you to be able to make a larger mat. It's up to you what you decide to do. So you cut it out and I say 10 by 13. Now then you need to measure 1 centimetre increments along the top and the bottom. So you need to measure, put your card down, measure and mark it off in 1 centimetres at that end and in 1 centimetres at the other end. And then you need to snip with your scissors so that you have got these little V's in between the 1 centimetre things. Now take some time to make sure that they are lining up across there like that they're lining up, that they're measured. It doesn't matter how many you have as long as it's an even number. Do not end up with an odd number or you'll get to the end and you'll have trouble. So I've got 8 along here because I've left a bit at either end. It's up to you how many you do as long as it's even, that's all. And then we need to do the warp. I had to keep looking up the warp and the weft, which way it is. So get off some wool. Now this is cotton, but you can absolutely use anything that you want to do. So I'm going to hook it in the first one and I'm just leaving, I wonder how much that is. I'm going to have to measure that now. Oh, well that was 12 centimetres. So I'm leaving about that sort of thing there and I've hooked it on. Now I'm just going to hold that one with my hand at the back and I'm going to just go around so that each one has got, let's see what I'm doing there, each one has got itself a string going in between each one. And it's really important before you start going any further to make sure that you have an even number of strings at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure you've got even. Now you're going to be tying these two at the back. So again, leave a bit of a space. Make sure you've got enough wool so that you've got enough to tie at the back, and then you want to tie those two together tightly against the back of the cardboard so that you've got a knot in there. I'm just going to hold that up so you can see that. So we've got that knot tightly, and then I'm going to cut these 2 strings off so they're not getting in our way. Throw those away. So that is your loom prepared. That's what you need to do. And if you are joining us for the Zoom tomorrow, you really should get to that stage first. And as I say, this is a bigger one, but you would do exactly the same thing, making sure you've got that. Now, you could, it's up to you on the colouring thing. If you leave a different colour here to the ones that you're going to be putting across, you might be able to see that. If you want not to be able to see these strings at the end, use the same colour. I'll use a contrasting colour so that you can see today. And then you need to get your first bit. Now, I've told you before sometimes not to cut too long a piece of thread when we're doing things. Now I'm going to go back on that because now I do want you to cut a longer piece of thread. So we need one. Now, what have I done there? I'm thinking that I've done that about 60 centimetres. Now it's up to you what you want to do. Carry on watching the video, see what you think, and then you'll come back to it. Now I'm going to tie the first one on with just a simple knot. I'll pick it up so you can see it. With just a simple knot, I've tied it on to there. One of the strings at the end, whether you're left or right-handed, whichever way you feel more appropriate, is there. It doesn't matter which one you do, whatever feels right for you. And then thread up your needle. If you've got a nice big eye, that will help. Thread up your needle. And now you're going to do the weaving. You're going under, over, under, over, under, over, right the way to the end. I'll do that again a few times so that you can see it. Under, over, under, over. Don't worry about this one because it's going to be hidden inside it in a while. So just leave that out of the way for now. And can you see that? How you've gone under, over, under, over. So the last thing we did there was go under. So when we come back round, we're going to go over this one. Okay, so we're doing the opposite. If you try and go under again, it'll just come off. So we just went under. So now we're going to go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Okay, you can see that like that. And then I'm going to pull that through. Now, when you get to this stage, don't do that and yank it really hard so that that thread goes in like that. Don't do that. If you notice on my demonstration one, it's absolutely not straight at all because I did yank it a little bit and I decided I wasn't going to worry about that and keep it anyway. But if you can try and keep it so that the string is staying straight, it will look better. And then you need to push them down next to each other. I'm not pushing it all the way down to the bottom to start because I need about 1 centimetre at the bottom there, at this point here. But I am pushing them right next to each other. Now we just went under that one, so I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. I'm pulling it along and I'm going all the way to the end and then I'm pushing it down. So it's meeting the one underneath it. Now I'm just going to show you what to do if you don't have that kind of needle and you have a shorter needle, because that's quite possible that you don't have a special weaving needle. Okay, so remember I'm doing this upside down and backwards for you. Don't get this bit of thread caught in there if you can help it. Keep that out of the way. We went under, so we're going over, under, over, under, over, under. And now I've slightly run out of space, so I'm just going to wriggle it along with my fingers like that. So if your needle isn't quite long enough, you can absolutely get your fingers under here. If you have no kind of needle, you can use your fingers. It's just more awkward to keep pushing it underneath. But you can. I absolutely did that the first time when I couldn't be bothered to get up off the settee and find myself another needle. You can use your fingers. If you're using wool like this, you can even stick a little piece of cardboard on the end to help you poke it through if you don't have a needle. So you keep going like that all the way along until you get to the end of your thread. So when you've got a little space left, in order to change colour, you do the same knot that I told you on the God's Eye tutorial a few weeks ago. You could flip back to that one, put the two next to each other and tie. You don't want too much hanging down, so you're just going to do that. And then you carry on and do that all the way through. The joining knot will be lost, poked inside there. And you'll go all the way up. You can either do it all one colour, but even so you probably need to join, because if your thread is too long. Now if you want to keep this like this and poke that underneath, you can do that, but it's awkward. I find it better to cut a fairly long length and then keep going along like that. One of the things that weaving is really great for is using different textures of wool. So I've used a glittery one, I've used a knobbly one, and I've used a really thick one there on this. So you just carry on doing exactly the same thing as that until the whole thing is full like this, with about 1 centimetre at the top and 1 centimetre at the bottom. If you haven't got it, you can just wriggle it all up now. This one, that was right down. The last one needs to be tied on in the exact same way that the first one was. Just tie it so that it's not coming off. Any way you really like to just tie it, and then cut off and hide your little bit in the back or poke it in or something. And when you've got it full, I'm going to show you what to do now. It's a tiny bit scary doing this one, but be brave because it's okay. So when you get to the end, you need to cut off your strings, okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get myself halfway through at the back here, you see, and I'm going to cut all the way along. So you saw what I did there? I've cut it all the way along. And then I'm going to, and you have to be careful at this stage because nothing is secure. You don't want everything coming out. So just gently lift it off the loom, and you're about to discover why it was important to use an even number. Because when we take it off, and your loom can be used again and again, when we take it off, we're then going to tie them together in twos. If you left it like that, it would all unravel really, really quickly. But we've got these two together, and we're going to tie them in a knot. Round and around again. And you do that with each one along. Tie each one. That's why it's important to have it in twos, because you're doing it like that. Now, personally, I love a fringe. So I leave those bits long and fringy. I also think it actually stops it from coming apart as well by having too much cut. But if you don't want a fringe, you will have to thread each one back in there to hide it so that you don't end up having, if you want to have a straight edge and you don't want a fringe. But otherwise you will tie them together and you will have this lovely coaster. I say mine wasn't that straight this time. This time I've learned not to yank the edges, so it's really neat. And when you've got your coaster, you can go back to drinking your cup of tea. Hope you have a nice time and see you soon. Bye.